Every morning, millions of seniors wake up and do something they think is harmless, even healthy. But as a prostate doctor, I'm begging you, please stop. Because what seems like a simple morning habit could be silently damaging your prostate and making your symptoms worse day by day. You might be doing this without even realizing the long-term harm it causes. And the worst part? Most people won't feel the damage until it's too late. If you're over 50 and care about your prostate health, you need to hear this. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to stop doing and what to do instead to protect your prostate and avoid unnecessary suffering. First, we have alcohol consumption. Alcohol might seem harmless when consumed occasionally, but when it becomes a regular habit, it can silently wreak havoc on your prostate health. Most people don't realize that the effects of alcohol go far beyond a temporary buzz. It interferes with several systems in your body, including your hormonal balance, immune response, and urinary system. All of these play a critical role in maintaining prostate health. One of the biggest issues with alcohol is its impact on hormone levels. The prostate is highly sensitive to hormones like testosterone and estrogen. Regular alcohol consumption disrupts the normal balance of these hormones. It lowers testosterone production while increasing estrogen levels. This imbalance can promote the growth of prostate tissue and may lead to conditions like benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, where the prostate enlarges and causes urinary issues. Alcohol also acts as a diuretic, which means it increases urine production. This may sound harmless, but it forces the bladder and prostate to work overtime. Over time, this excessive pressure can lead to inflammation and irritation of the prostate. For men who already have a slightly enlarged prostate, this can significantly worsen symptoms like frequent urination, nighttime urination, and difficulty in fully emptying the bladder. Another dangerous property of alcohol is that it weakens the immune system. The prostate, like other organs, needs a healthy immune system to fight off infections and inflammation. Chronic alcohol use reduces the number of white blood cells and slows down the body's ability to heal. This makes the prostate more vulnerable to infections like prostatitis, a painful condition marked by inflammation, swelling, and sometimes fever. Alcohol is also linked to oxidative stress, which is a state where your body is overloaded with harmful molecules called free radicals. These free radicals damage cells and tissues, including those in the prostate. Long-term oxidative stress can lead to chronic inflammation, DNA damage, and increase the risk of developing prostate cancer. Alcohol not only introduces more toxins into the body, but it also interferes with the liver's ability to detoxify the blood, compounding the damage. Heavy alcohol intake also leads to dehydration, which thickens the urine and makes it more concentrated. Concentrated urine irritates the bladder and the urinary tract, including the prostate. This irritation can lead to discomfort, burning sensations, and increased urgency, which only adds more pressure on the already stressed prostate gland. For men already diagnosed with a prostate condition, such as BPH, prostatitis, or even prostate cancer, alcohol acts as fuel to the fire. It can make existing symptoms more severe and reduce the effectiveness of medications. Some drugs prescribed for prostate problems interact negatively with alcohol, reducing their potency or causing side effects such as dizziness, weakness, or lowered blood pressure. Studies have also shown that excessive alcohol consumption may increase levels of PSA, prostate-specific antigen, a marker used to detect prostate abnormalities. Elevated PSA can lead to unnecessary biopsies and medical procedures, and in some cases, it can mask the true underlying condition by giving misleading results. Social drinking, when it becomes habitual, can also lead to poor dietary choices and a sedentary lifestyle, both of which contribute to poor prostate health. Junk food, lack of exercise, and increased belly fat all raise estrogen levels and lower testosterone, worsening the hormonal imbalance that affects the prostate. While a glass of wine once in a while may not pose a major threat, consistently drinking beer, spirits, or cocktails can create a chain reaction in the body that leads to long-term prostate damage. The key lies in awareness and moderation. Understanding how alcohol affects the prostate is the first step toward making better lifestyle choices that protect this small but important gland from unnecessary harm. Next, we have excessive caffeine intake. Excessive caffeine intake might be a part of your daily routine, but its effects on prostate health are often overlooked. While a single cup of coffee may not seem dangerous, high and regular doses of caffeine can silently contribute to the worsening of prostate problems over time. Caffeine is a stimulant that impacts multiple systems in the body, including the nervous, hormonal, and urinary systems. These effects, when amplified through chronic overconsumption, can stress the prostate and accelerate existing issues. Caffeine is known for its diuretic properties. It increases urine production and stimulates the bladder. This might seem like a minor issue at first, but for men dealing with an enlarged prostate or benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, this leads to more frequent trips to the bathroom, especially at night. The constant urge to urinate, along with incomplete bladder emptying, puts additional pressure on the prostate and worsens urinary symptoms like urgency, leakage, and weak urine flow. Over time, this can severely disrupt sleep and reduce quality of life. Another concerning effect of caffeine is its ability to irritate the bladder and the urinary tract lining. This irritation does not only affect the bladder, but can extend to the prostate as well. For men already experiencing inflammation in the prostate, such as in the case of chronic prostatitis, caffeine acts as an aggravator. It can trigger flare-ups, intensify pelvic discomfort, and prolong the recovery process by keeping the tissues in a constant state of stimulation and irritation. Caffeine also impacts stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. High caffeine intake stimulates the adrenal glands, pushing the body into a state of alertness. While this might boost mental performance temporarily, prolonged elevation of stress hormones can interfere with hormone balance, including testosterone. The prostate is highly sensitive to hormonal fluctuations. When testosterone levels drop or fluctuate erratically due to chronic stress and caffeine overload, the prostate can become more vulnerable to inflammation and growth abnormalities. Another major downside of excessive caffeine consumption is its dehydrating effect. Caffeine contributes to fluid loss in the body, especially if consumed without enough water. Dehydration makes the urine more concentrated, which in turn irritates the bladder and prostate. For individuals prone to urinary tract infections or prostatitis, this dehydration worsens the symptoms and slows down the body's ability to flush out harmful bacteria and toxins. Caffeine is also known to tighten muscles, including those in the pelvic region. Over time, excessive stimulation of these muscles can contribute to pelvic floor tension. This muscle tension is directly related to chronic pelvic pain syndrome, a condition often associated with chronic prostatitis. The added pressure on the prostate due to tight surrounding muscles can intensify discomfort and prolong healing, creating a vicious cycle of pain and irritation. Men who suffer from inflammation of the prostate or chronic prostatitis often report that their symptoms become worse after consuming caffeinated beverages. This includes not only coffee, but also energy drinks, colas, and even strong teas. The problem lies not just in the amount of caffeine, but in the frequency of consumption. Drinking these beverages several times a day prevents the body from fully calming down and recovering, keeping the prostate in a constantly irritated state. Another issue is that caffeine consumption can reduce sleep quality, especially when consumed later in the day. Poor sleep interferes with the body's natural repair mechanisms and weakens the immune system. A weakened immune system is less capable of fighting off infections and managing inflammation, both of which are essential to maintaining prostate health. Without proper rest, the prostate becomes more vulnerable to stress and damage over time. Excess caffeine can also reduce the effectiveness of certain medications used for prostate conditions. Some drugs used to treat BPH or prostatitis can interact poorly with stimulants, leading to side effects like increased heart rate, anxiety, or even a spike in blood pressure. This makes managing prostate conditions more complicated and less effective, especially when the underlying irritant, caffeine, is not addressed or eliminated. Next, we have holding urine for too long. Holding urine for too long may seem harmless in the moment, whether you're in the middle of a meeting, stuck in traffic, or simply ignoring the urge. But this habit can have serious long-term consequences on your prostate health. The prostate is located just below the bladder and surrounds the urethra, the tube that carries urine out of the body. When you regularly delay urination, you put unnecessary pressure on this entire urinary system, and over time, that pressure can begin to damage the prostate, especially if it's already enlarged or inflamed. When the bladder becomes overly full, it stretches beyond its natural capacity. This prolonged stretching not only weakens the bladder muscles, but also increases the pressure on the prostate gland. Repeatedly forcing the bladder to hold more urine than it should leads to urinary retention, which is when the bladder doesn't empty completely. This condition forces the prostate to work harder to push out urine through the already narrow passage, which can irritate and inflame the gland over time. One of the key problems with holding urine is that it creates a perfect environment for bacterial growth. Stale urine that remains in the bladder due to delayed urination can become a breeding ground for bacteria, increasing the risk of urinary tract infections. Once bacteria multiply, they can easily travel to the prostate, leading to a condition called bacterial prostatitis. This is a painful inflammation of the prostate that often requires medical treatment and, in some cases, long-term antibiotics. The pressure from a full bladder also irritates the muscles and tissues around the prostate. This ongoing irritation can lead to chronic pelvic pain and tension, which are common symptoms in men with prostatitis. Over time, the muscles around the prostate may become tight and inflamed, adding to the discomfort and making urination even more difficult. Holding urine not only causes physical strain, but also increases stress in the pelvic area, worsening the symptoms of existing prostate conditions. Another serious consequence of regularly holding in urine is the disruption of the communication between the bladder and the brain. Your body relies on a complex signaling system to know when it's time to urinate. When you ignore those signals repeatedly, your body becomes less responsive to them. This desensitization can lead to a condition known as underactive bladder, which makes it harder to completely empty the bladder. When urine remains, it pushes against the prostate, inflames surrounding tissue, and increases the likelihood of infections. For men who already have benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, the risks of holding urine are even higher. BPH causes the prostate to enlarge, which naturally obstructs the flow of urine. When you hold urine in such a state, you're amplifying an already difficult situation. The bladder struggles to push against the obstruction, the pressure builds, and the urinary tract becomes inflamed. This can lead to painful urination, nighttime urination, and even bladder stones. Chronic urine retention caused by this habit can also lead to backflow of urine into the kidneys, a condition known as vesicoureteral reflux. When this happens, the kidneys are exposed to bacteria and increased pressure, which can damage kidney tissue over time. As the kidneys and bladder are closely connected to the prostate, any damage here can indirectly worsen prostate health and lead to broader urinary system complications. Holding urine also increases oxidative stress in the urinary tract. When cells are repeatedly stretched, compressed, and deprived of normal function, they begin to accumulate damage at the cellular level. This includes the cells in the prostate. Oxidative stress weakens the body's ability to heal and regenerate tissues, creating a chronic state of low-grade inflammation in and around the prostate gland, which is known to contribute to the development and progression of prostate diseases. In the long term, this simple habit can undermine the effectiveness of medications used to treat prostate issues. If the bladder isn't emptying fully, medications that rely on relaxed urinary muscles or improved urine flow may not deliver their intended results. This may lead doctors to believe a condition is worsening, prompting stronger medications or invasive procedures, when in reality, the problem could be linked to poor bladder habits. Next, we have poor diet. A poor diet can be one of the most silent yet destructive enemies of prostate health. Many people don't realize that what they eat daily can either support the prostate or slowly wear it down. A diet high in processed foods, Unhealthy fats, sugar, and red meat creates an environment inside the body that promotes inflammation, hormonal imbalance, and cellular damage, all of which can seriously affect the prostate over time. The damage isn't immediate, but it gets worse every day these eating habits continue. One of the most harmful aspects of a poor diet is chronic inflammation. Consuming foods that are rich in trans fats, refined carbohydrates, and added sugars triggers an inflammatory response in the body. Inflammation is one of the root causes of many prostate conditions, including prostatitis and even prostate cancer. When the prostate is constantly exposed to an inflamed environment, it becomes more vulnerable to swelling, pain, and dysfunction. Over time, this can lead to chronic pain, urinary problems, and reduced quality of life. Processed meats and high-fat dairy products are common staples in poor diets and are especially harmful. These foods are loaded with saturated fats and chemical preservatives that have been linked to increased levels of dihydrotestosterone (DHT), a hormone associated with prostate enlargement. An excess of DHT stimulates the growth of prostate cells, leading to benign prostatic hyperplasia (BPH). This condition can cause urinary obstruction, frequent urination, and difficulty emptying the bladder completely. Sugar is another major culprit in damaging prostate health. Diets high in sugar contribute to insulin resistance and metabolic disorders like obesity and type 2 diabetes. These conditions don't just affect blood sugar, they also affect hormones that influence prostate growth. Excess insulin and fat storage can increase estrogen levels in men, which throws off the balance of testosterone and can contribute to prostate enlargement or inflammation. A sugar-rich diet also weakens the immune system, making it harder for the body to defend against infections and inflammation in the prostate. Low intake of fruits and vegetables is also a dangerous habit tied to poor diet. These foods are rich in antioxidants, vitamins, and fiber, nutrients essential for reducing oxidative stress in the body. Without them, the prostate is left vulnerable to the buildup of free radicals, which can damage cells and lead to abnormal tissue growth. Oxidative stress has been directly linked to a higher risk of prostate cancer and worsened symptoms of existing prostate conditions. Another way poor diet harms the prostate is by promoting obesity. Excess body fat, especially around the abdomen, increases the risk of developing prostate issues. Fat tissue is hormonally active. It can convert testosterone into estrogen, creating a hormonal imbalance that harms prostate health. Obesity also increases inflammation throughout the body, including in the pelvic region, which places constant pressure on the prostate and makes it harder for the gland to function properly. High salt intake is another overlooked danger. Too much sodium in the diet can raise blood pressure and stress the kidneys and bladder. Over time, this can affect the pressure and function of the urinary system as a whole, placing additional strain on the prostate. This is particularly harmful for men already dealing with prostate conditions like BPH or chronic prostatitis, as it can worsen their symptoms and increase the risk of urinary retention or infections. Fried foods, often consumed in fast food-heavy diets, are loaded with harmful oils that promote inflammation and oxidative damage. These foods not only add empty calories, but also introduce toxic compounds like advanced glycation, end products, AGEs, that accelerate aging and cellular damage. The prostate, being sensitive to oxidative and hormonal changes, can begin to deteriorate under these conditions, especially when the diet lacks protective nutrients from fresh whole foods. Drinking habits also play a role in poor dietary health. Frequent consumption of sugary sodas, energy drinks, or alcohol contributes to dehydration, sugar overload, and liver stress, all of which have indirect but powerful effects on the prostate. Alcohol, in particular, can increase estrogen levels and weaken immune response, making the prostate more susceptible to inflammation, irritation, and disease progression. Ultimately, the damage caused by a poor diet doesn't show up overnight. It's a slow process that worsens the prostate day by day. What might begin as minor discomfort or frequent urination can evolve into chronic pain, difficulty urinating, and a significantly increased risk of prostate disease. Making better dietary choices, such as eating more vegetables, reducing sugar, cutting processed foods, and staying hydrated, can go a long way in protecting the prostate and improving overall health. Ignoring diet, however, is like feeding the problem every single day. Last, we have smoking. Smoking is widely known for damaging the lungs and heart, but many people don't realize the harm it causes to the prostate. Each cigarette contains thousands of harmful chemicals, and when inhaled regularly, these toxins don't just stay in the lungs, they travel through the bloodstream and affect nearly every organ, including the prostate. Over time, smoking silently worsens prostate health by promoting inflammation, weakening the immune system, increasing oxidative stress, and disturbing hormonal balance. One of the major ways smoking harms the prostate is by reducing blood flow. The chemicals in cigarettes cause blood vessels to narrow and harden, a condition known as atherosclerosis. This limits the amount of oxygen-rich blood reaching the prostate. Without proper circulation, the prostate tissue struggles to stay healthy and becomes more vulnerable to inflammation and cellular damage. Poor blood flow also means slower healing, which can worsen symptoms in men already suffering from conditions like prostatitis or an enlarged prostate. Smoking also introduces harmful substances like cadmium into the body, a toxic heavy metal found in tobacco. Cadmium is particularly dangerous for the prostate because it accumulates in the gland and disrupts normal cell function. Studies have shown a link between cadmium exposure and increased risk of prostate cancer. This metal interferes with DNA repair processes, increases inflammation, and may trigger abnormal cell growth. The longer a person smokes, the more cadmium builds up in their body, steadily increasing the risk of serious prostate problems. Another issue is oxidative stress, which is significantly increased by smoking. The toxins in cigarettes create free radicals, unstable molecules that attack healthy cells. The prostate, like many other organs, is highly sensitive to this damage. Over time, oxidative stress leads to chronic inflammation and can damage the cells lining the prostate. This not only worsens existing conditions, but also raises the likelihood of developing more severe disorders, including cancer. Smoking weakens the immune system, making it harder for the body to fight off infections and inflammation. A weak immune system leaves the prostate more vulnerable to chronic prostatitis, which is a long-lasting inflammation of the prostate that can cause pain, discomfort, and urinary issues. Men who smoke are more likely to suffer from persistent or recurrent bouts of prostatitis because their bodies simply can't eliminate harmful bacteria or control inflammation effectively. Nicotine, the addictive substance in tobacco, also plays a damaging role. It interferes with hormone levels by affecting the way the body produces and uses testosterone. The prostate is directly influenced by hormonal balance, especially testosterone and its more active form, DHT. When smoking alters these hormone levels, it can promote abnormal growth in the prostate, contributing to conditions like benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. This condition causes the prostate to enlarge, pressing against the bladder and urethra, and leading to painful or frequent urination. The link between smoking and prostate cancer is another critical concern. Research has shown that smokers are not only more likely to develop prostate cancer, but also more likely to experience aggressive and fast-growing forms of the disease. Smoking affects how the body processes and removes cancer-causing agents, leading to higher levels of these substances in prostate tissue. Additionally, smokers often respond poorly to prostate cancer treatment, facing higher risks of complications and lower survival rates compared to non-smokers. Smoking also interferes with medications used to treat prostate conditions. The chemicals in cigarettes can alter how drugs are absorbed and processed in the body, reducing their effectiveness. This can make it harder to control symptoms, requiring higher doses or stronger medications, which come with more side effects. For men undergoing prostate surgery or radiation therapy, smoking increases the risks of complications and slows the healing process due to its impact on blood flow and immune response. Coughing caused by chronic smoking can also indirectly affect the pelvic floor muscles. Repeated heavy coughing puts pressure on the lower abdomen and pelvic area, which can worsen urinary incontinence, a common symptom in men with prostate issues. The added strain on already sensitive tissues can lead to discomfort, leaks, and frustration, making day-to-day life more difficult. Quitting smoking is one of the best decisions a man can make for his prostate health. Each cigarette may seem small, but its cumulative damage is significant. Smoking doesn't just harm the lungs, it silently attacks the prostate day by day, making existing problems worse and opening the door to more serious conditions. Protecting the prostate starts with breaking the cycle of smoking and giving the body a chance to heal, recover, and function at its best.